All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the January 30th, 2024 iteration of the Kubernetes SIG-Windows community meeting. As always, these meetings are uploaded and recorded and uploaded to YouTube, so be sure to adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct. All right, let's jump in. I don't see any announcements now, other than I think we're probably 2 to 3 weeks away for enhancements freeze for the 130 release cycle. I think next week let's go over the enhancements that we want to progress again to. I think we can do a status update on the some of the CRI changes, like the image pull per runtime class, and also I know Arvind was working on the kubectl plugin for the node log query viewer, so maybe we can get an update on some of those. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to announce or bring attention to? All right, let's go next is a space where we give new contributors opportunity to introduce themselves and so we can welcome them. But I believe everybody on the call is a regular, so I'll just give a minute if anybody wants to speak. If not, we'll go to the agenda. All right, let's move on to our agenda. First item is this GitHub issue created for the source VIP issues. I believe we've kind of talked about this in the past, so it's good to see some action here. Anything you want to discuss at the end?
I know, nothing specific to sort of call out. I joined James on this. James mentioned if anyone was interested in joining, and I put my hand up, and he helped me like catch me up with the context, and I'm ready to make those changes in kubeproxy and the rest. So it's just bringing awareness to it.
Awesome, yeah, and I want to say like so. I don't for people who were on the call a couple weeks ago with Dan Winship, it sounded like the SIG networking is open to having, or let me see how to word this. It sounds like as long as we can kind of get reviews and approvals in for the kubeproxy for Windows, it doesn't sound like SIG network is going to provide too much friction for that too. So that is good. So hopefully we can get these changes in. But on the other hand, I think we still need to kind of figure out and maybe bring on some new folks who can dive deep into kubeproxy and take on a more maintainership role in that too. So I guess for everybody on the call or anybody who's watching, that is, if anybody's interested in that, that would be please reach out. Anything kind of newer to highlight here, or is this just an FYI? I think that we're mostly all like this has been discussed before too, and I think we're mostly in agreement with these changes. But is there anything else to highlight, or just move on?
Nothing from me. I don't know if there's anything from you, James. I am curious if the kubeproxy image is like how that's going.
I'm still working on it. I didn't actually get a chance. There's a couple other bugs I ran into last week, and so I will let you know as soon as possible. If you need an image to test it with, I can probably produce one, or I can share one with you. So just ping me.
I can build it locally. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I was just curious about how that's going.
Yeah, it's being worked on.
Awesome, great to see some progress in here. I think we've been talking about doing this for probably 10 plus releases now. So yeah. All right. Next issue is created Doxamara's challenges and uprightness. Please share any feedback. I did not get a chance to look at this before the meeting. Oh, it looks like there's not access. Can you share this with the Kubernetes, the SIG-Windows group, the one that I think we reference up here, the mailing list?
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
Kubernetes SIG-Windows at googlegroups.com.
James actually showed me how to do that. Apologies for that.
Yeah.
Let me try and do it right now very quickly.
While we're waiting, does anybody else have anything they want to bring to the agenda? I think we're kind of light today.
I can update the agenda, but I just wanted to kind of give a little of update. The CLI tool that we've been experimenting with I mean there is progress. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say. There is a little of progress, slow, mostly due to me learning the Kubernetes code base in general and figuring the Kubernetes code practices and applying them. And but there is a progress, and it's not. I mean, yeah. Hopefully, in the coming weeks, we will see some. We will have something to present or to demo. Yeah. So
There's a lot of code in Kubernetes and in various repositories. Yeah.
I got stuck with the K-log stuff. Apparently, there was the old way of K-logging, the new way of K-logging, and things like, yeah, I wanted to do the level-based logging from the day one of working with the CLI, because it just helps, for testing and debugging. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I think Klog v1 was similar like API to glog, like a Google Go logger, and then they switched to Klog v2 and
Yeah.
had some breaking changes in how you do the logging. So. Yeah, and if you are looking at logging, I know there was a big initiative maybe a year or two ago to add structured logging to all of the to everywhere in the Kubernetes components. So just use like the info S, where we make sure that we log the names of any parameters that get where we dump the values of too. That'll be helpful, and I think it did have some good improvements in log quality.
Yeah. This is the way I'm heading towards. Yeah. So yeah.
It
Any
looks
other
like the document has permission.
Yep. Got it shared. Thanks.
Yeah, apologies for that blooper. So the story I'm trying to tell is how we went from having the challenge of pods not being able to schedule properly during the test, how we switched to the webhook, but how the webhook might also present some challenges. So yeah, I think we can skim through it if we want, but I'm happy to leave it for people to look at offline later.
I guess it's up to all of you. I see a meme just joined. Yeah, I'm familiar with. So is everybody on the call kind of familiar with what we're trying to accomplish here? If not, maybe we can give like a quick summary and then look at some of the problems. Okay, I think so. For those who aren't familiar with this, that there's some, I believe is it labels that need to be added to Windows or to Windows pods in AWS in order for them to get scheduled correctly. And I believe the reasoning for that was a lot of some information used by the CNI to set up routes there too. And that is kind of a requirement unique to AWS and not some of the other hosted like Kubernetes services, and definitely not like vanilla Kubernetes. So that's been making it difficult to run some of the ETE tests in like with the ETE test framework or the conformance tools on AWS nodes. So a couple of the different proposed solutions were to update the test framework to add or update some of the tests to add those labels, and there was some reasons to not do that, and that's because a lot of the conformance tests especially run on both Linux and Windows, and we don't have a good way to kind of and schedule pods on both Windows and Linux. So the idea was to add one of the suggestions was to add a webhook that you can install into the cluster before running the EDE tests, and think that's what some of this is discussing. Do you wanna share or talk about any of this? Or go ahead, James.
I have a question, but Tatiana, if you want to add anything else to what Mark said, go first.
No, please go ahead. He was pretty spot on.
Yeah, so I was just scanning through it. I haven't read the whole thing, but it looks like the webhook is failing on that Windows, the hybrid network test for Windows. Is it failing any other tests, or is that the only one that's failing?
So I actually couldn't find other good examples. I was pretty sure there was more, but last night I was going through the test and that's the only one that I could find that was relevant to that. So if that is the only one, perhaps we could simply proceed to use it and tweak that test because we own it, right?
Yeah.
But I want to just thoroughly go through the rest of the tests because this is something I kind of looked at maybe a couple months ago, and I just need to refresh my memory on the exact tests that I encountered. One of them I eliminated. It was something else that I actually had incorrectly diagnosed.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that if that's the only test that's causing a problem, which my guess, if it's the only test probably in the whole suite that tests Linux and Windows specifically, and we do that specifically
Right.
because we're in SIG-Windows and there's always going to be Linux nodes. So
Yeah.
I think if that's the only test, or if there's one or two other SIG-Windows specific tests that do that type of thing, then I think we can just tweak those and the webhook would be a good way. I think we're going to get a lot of pushback to add the option that you have that's here, adding the node selectors into the thing. My guess is that folks aren't going to want to do that. I think that's why Claude was mostly involved with this, I think, initially, but I think the reason we chose to do the taints was because they didn't want to make widespread modifications to all the tests across the board. So, which for Windows. So, I think that's my initial thought. Just quickly scanning this, but I'll read it in more detail.
I think like that may have been the case, especially during when Windows nodes were not even stable yet. And maybe there was some desire to not, boil the ocean in case it didn't progress to stable. I wonder now, since I mean Windows nodes are stable and there's Windows nodes in pretty much all the big cloud providers and stuff, if maybe there would be a little bit less pushback today for that. But that is a good point.
Thanks for the early feedback. Yeah. If that works, then that might be the easy fix. I guess if I'm to be like completely upfront, is the cloud specific issues that I also mentioned in a different section, which is EKS, which is that sometimes we still run into these weird cases, but I think the webhook should still just handle it. So I'm going to take a deeper look at it because I wanted to draft this document quickly last night so that we can discuss it today. And if I can find other examples to cite, I'll list them. Otherwise, what James is saying is probably what works best. I mean, you were also asking, I hope this document will sort of help tell you that story because I think I hadn't properly given you that context of what was going on about this.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for putting this up.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take a look at this too, and maybe next meeting we could go over if there's any comments or anything.
Got it. Thanks, folks.
I think this. Oh, so here is this. Looks like there's another agenda item. Is this what you were just discussing about the CLI tool? Yeah.
Yeah, correct. I just put the notes down
Awesome.
for the records.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, we can take a look at this. Does anybody have anything else to discuss? Should we end the meeting a little bit early today and give people a chance to read some of these things and we can discuss in the future meeting?
Sounds good. I have a couple comments. Apologies, people were looking to end the meeting. They're kind of like things that I was going to only bring up if there was time.
All right, go for it.
So I haven't been following Matteo and Amim about the SWT CLI tool. So please just catch me up if I say something incorrect. But like with the work that I'm going to be doing, that James and I were looking at for kubeproxy in the overlay networking mode, I needed to start up a Windows node and join it in the cluster. And for that, I used Minikube, and it worked really well for me. And James had mentioned that I should probably bring it up to just mention that and see how that could also sort of maybe tie in with the CLI tool that you folks are working on. James, can you sort of please just help and segue how to sort of bring the discussion?
Sure. Yeah. So I think because we needed just a plain old node, I pointed at this like Minikube tutorial that somebody from the community here put together, and he was able to get it up and going super fast using that tutorial. And I think that's like the biggest success we've ever had with somebody just starting a new Windows node locally without having to use a cloud or something. And so I was wondering if maybe, I know that like the approach that you're taking with the CLI tool is to like be able to just have a CLI tool that says go update with these binaries that are local and pushes them to the right place. And so I wonder if we can take the stuff that we did with Minikube and then use the CLI and just swap out, because we have access to via kubeconfig, if we can just swap out the binaries, then we'd have a pretty cool technique, like, you know, Minikube up with Windows, and then we use the software developer tool to swap out binary. And now we've got this like really quick, fast cycle where you know, we're not trying to reinvent a lot of the things that are out there. So I thought that might be an interesting approach.
So kind of, I think, break the problem into a couple, like into smaller problems, because I think one of the problems SIG-Windows DevTools was trying to solve was doing what Minikube does if you're running Windows on Ubuntu or something else. But we could split that out and then have another set of functionality, just take an existing node and then turn it into a developer, like a developer node with developer bits. Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I think Vinicius is from Microsoft as well, the guy that wrote this. So I asked his team to do a demo at some point. Let's see if he can join us and do this.
Oh yeah.
It's a good idea. I can reach out to him. Yeah, and I think there would have to be some work done. I think we could do better than just like this walkthrough, but like make it automated in Minikube, but that would be a different discussion. So, but I can reach out to Vinicius and see if he...
So I mean, you use Kind, right?
I use Kind
Yeah.
with KMU. This is super fast, but only works for Linux. Not sure how Windows will be with double SL and all this stuff.
Yeah, but so we have Kind now. It looks like Minikube is another way to set up the control plane basically and join the Windows node. So like our CLI is not supposed to replace Minikube or Kind, right? That's the idea. It's supposed to be kind of come to the picture after the node is there and help with updating swapping the binaries. Yeah. So it took me a while to actually realize that that's the goal. That's the main goal here for us. Not to develop like a cluster manager, another one, but to kind of to be a developer dedicated tool. Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to confirm that that's the direction we are going to. Yeah.
Got it. I think it sounds like there's no conflict. It's solving a specific problem. So I think we're good there. Yeah, myself, I was pretty excited. This was the first time I've ran it locally. I usually just use one of the cloud's instances in AWS. So at least it'll be easy to dev on it when I work on the feature. That's it from me. Thanks, folks.
Nice. All right, anybody else? If not, I'm gonna end the meeting now. Give everybody some time back. All right.